have a 22-point agenda. Was the meeting properly posted? All right. So would someone like to, motion by Cosgrove,
Second.
second by Severson to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, we have an agenda. Item number 4, read and approve the minutes of the September 10th, 2021 LEJC meeting. I'm not going to read those. I'm assuming you guys have read them. If someone would like to make the motion,
Gary Severson moves for approval.
do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Cosgrove. Any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, our minutes are approved.
How's our attendance today?
We do have a quorum, and Dave Turk, Supervisor Turk, said that he was going to attend by WebEx, so I'm assuming he will be here shortly.
What about the other one?
As far as I know, he's asked to be removed from this committee. That's all I know. All right, item number 5, Partners for Prevention Coalition, continued discussion and possible approval on creating a county resolution. Not sure if I'm passing this off to Betsy or Sheriff Porter.
I think there's 3 people here representing, but Julie, would you like to speak to the resolution? There's actually 2 resolutions.
Sure. I don't have the resolutions in front of me, but we are asking for cooperation from law enforcement, this committee, our committee. Oh, and Betsy sharing. Thank you. The first one is about, now it's really small and okay, here we go. There we go. We just want to make sure that we have a lot of communication between us and the law enforcement and the county. What we're trying to do is just start that discussion about the commitment on behalf of everybody. So we would like to, and again, part of this is because of the, we want to collaborate with Crime Stoppers, the Board of Supervisors, the Sheriff, Partners for Prevention, and all of our citizens group so that we can continue our biannual, twice yearly meetings, compliance checks. And we are specifically targeting in this one, the social host law, so that we would like to be able to share all that information. And so basically this is just a communication that we'd like you to approve about communication.
So Julie's referring to, this is the second one, this
I'm sorry.
social host law. And then there's an additional one regarding the compliance checks. We did have the memorandum of understanding signed by both agencies of law enforcement. And so that's wonderful. The effort at taking this beyond the committee and engaging the community in efforts to reduce the behavior is the purpose of these resolutions, that the community would then assist in changing what we feel is sustained behavior of parents consenting to hosting and retailers not consistently checking IDs, and some are selling to youth. So that's what these resolutions address.
Betsy, can you share
Yes.
the results of your compliance checks with
Yes.
the committee and those present?
Yes, and I will stop sharing the screen. So the most recent checks, September 25th, not all retailers were checked during this round, and they represent the third of the checks that were started last November. So the results were that 9 of the 15 licensees failed the checks, meaning that when the youth decoys entered the establishment and tried to buy, they were sold. Some did check the ID and sold anyway. Some did check the ID or did not check the ID, but just went ahead and sold. So I think there were 4 failures in the city and 5 in the county, or it might be the reverse, but anyway, 9 failures, 6 passed.
Thank you. I mean, when you showed me those numbers, I guess I was surprised. I thought it would be better than that. So I thought that was, and when you've done this in the past, has it been similar rates of passing and failing?
Yes, around 51%. And when I consulted with the UW Policy Project, they said typically when you do start out doing the checks, you'll have that kind of results. And in time, when they're done consistently, every 6 months, then eventually, and working with the licensees, helping with the beverage server training and providing information, that does improve. And that is part of our work as a coalition, that we want these businesses to be successful, and we will provide them with the resources to do so. And this isn't about a gotcha effort. This is about changing the behavior of our young people so that they don't grow up with a substance use disorder.
So you have
And
been providing the vendors or
communities
the,
into it. That's the ultimate goal, is health and safety.
right, so you have been providing the owners of these establishments with the materials and whatever for training?
Yes. So just before the November checks, we provided them with these posters that they could put up in their establishments with a sample ID with, you can see up in the upper left-hand corner in red, it says you under 21. And then this is for the customers to see. And then this was some materials that for the employees. Now it's backwards for you to see, but this is could be, we suggested this could go behind the counter for employees. We also gave the owners a pledge sheet that the employees would sign that they agree to check IDs. We're in the process of working with the city PD on hopefully a program called Cheers, that we would offer free beverage server training to the employees as well. So, this is an ongoing effort, but that's what we've done so far. In other words, Melissa.
Thank you. So today, are you asking us to consider 2 resolutions or just the one social hosting resolution that you'd like us to really talk about today?
So we have 2 before you, and we realize that we're in a change process here. So if you wanted to consider one at a time, the first one being the compliance checks, that they would be done biannually, and that they would be supportive, and with all those whereases, which includes the data, this would be something we would present to the county board. And then if you want to consider the social host one as well at this time, that's great. But Julie, any comments? I guess I would say one at a time is probably a good way to go.
Can I look at that resolution?
I'm sorry, what?
Can that resolution be posted back up there again?
Betsy, can you post that?
It's not in my packet, is it?
No,
It's
I
not
think
the
I'm the only
packet.
one on the committee that's seen it.
They wanted to know if you could post the resolution again.
Post the resolution again. Okay. Which, you want to see the one on compliance checks first?
Yes.
Okay. I did share copies with Clay and Melissa, but if you want to see it here, hang on just a second and I'll have the other one up. Okay. And once again, you want to see the one on compliance checks.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So while she's pulling that up, I think I would like to hear from Sheriff Porter and our Chief Deputy, their thoughts on this resolution. Do you have any reservations? If there's anything you think should be changed, if the language is good, how supportive any issues you might feel there might be with the deputies, any of that, I would like to hear about, please. Is your mic on?
I don't myself really have much reservations on it. You know, we're already agreeing to engage in, I don't know, is that working all right? We're already agreeing to engage in the compliance checks, although this last round, just due to being short-staffed, we weren't able to supply the officers, but the checks still took place. You know, we're gonna do what we can to help with this, and I don't have an issue with that being in resolution. I was just looking over the social host one again. Pull that back up.
So, okay, this is the compliance ones. Is this one, do you want to talk about this one or the other one, which?
Well, I guess if we want to talk about the compliance one, I don't really have any issues moving forward with that right now.
Okay, so given that, what we're suggesting is that then, once it's taken to the county board, we have an opportunity to make a presentation with this, and so that the rest of the community, so it enables the rest of the community to buy in and to support it's kind of a culture shift here.
I don't have a problem with selling.
You want to say that into the mic?
I'm comfortable with this alcohol one. This compliance one or whatever,
Compliance checks?
whatever this one is, it says draft resolution. Yeah, I would make a motion to approve this. Set it on the county
Alright.
board.
So I have a motion by Severson, second by Cosgrove. Any further discussion? Supervisor Turk, did you have any thoughts you wanted to share on this?
No,
particular
I'm
resolution?
I'm good with this too.
Okay, all right.
Okay, that's
those-
great.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion passes. We will pass this on to the county board. Now, the next question will be is whether it can or should be on the October one, which would be our budget meeting, which was probably not the best meeting to extend. I'm thinking we might need to put this on December because we don't meet in November.
Just to know with anything else, so you're aware too, Betsy and Julie, that the county board can amend this resolution and word it differently.
Right.
They have that opportunity.
Well, it does say draft at the top, so,
Yeah,
think
so
that's-
what we could do is have them send this to, we can send it to our corporation counsel for his review first, and have it ready to go. Because our October meeting is going to be budgetary, I don't know, I'm just feeling like that one might not be a good meeting to have
Fine.
more
That's
stuff
fine.
on our agenda. And so it would be December, I think would be a better month to have this.
Sounds
So we have
good.
a little time to get this to our corporation counsel. Can you guys get that to our corporation counsel? Can I? Okay.
we can email it, yes.
Well, Sheriff Porter is going to do that. I think it's probably easier if it comes from Sheriff Porter.
Good.
Just to keep our own procedures in order here. And obviously you can communicate with Betsy if there's any issues or whatever if you think something needs to be changed or whatever. And it could come back to this committee in November if corporation counsel finds any issues. I don't see why he would, but yeah. Okay. All right. So then do we want to talk about the social hosting resolution right now? It sounds like there might be some concerns with that one.
Does everybody have a copy of this one?
I think he just put it in our folders and we can see it on the screen now. So yeah, I think we're good. Supervisor Severson?
I like a lot of the wording in here, although I'm kind of curious as to what the difference between a resolution and a ordinance would be. This kind of in here is like directing law enforcement to do certain things. And we would like them to, but is that the purpose of a resolution, or would that be
Right.
more further involvement in an ordinance? But then also, they should already have laws that state that they should be doing that. If they know there's an underage drinking party, I think they have to do something about it. Right?
Sheriff Porter, can you explain what are the laws?
Well,
Are you just tickets, like people can get tickets
Yeah.
essentially?
yeah, and that's, so going back to social host law, which I believe I could drop that in your file, but they did provide me with documentation of that as well. But you can receive tickets. There's also a civil liability in hosting if let's say there was
Is
a
your mic
crash.
on?
Tickets on.
Betsy, can you hear Sheriff Porter speaking?
Pardon me?
Can
Yes.
you hear Sheriff Porter? Okay, just want to make sure, sorry. Go
Yes,
ahead.
I can, and everyone, yes, I can, yes.
So there's a civil liability involved as well with, you know, if there was a crash that were to occur or somebody were hurt or injured as a result of these parties, then they're liable civilly for the damages.
I know in the past, we haven't reached.
Yeah.
But on the past, we have,
You're not on. It's not coming through. You might just not be close enough.
I know in the past, come through now, right? In
Yeah.
the past, we have went to underage drinking parties where people have supplied the alcohol, and they have been issued a ticket for every ticket that we've issued of underage drink. They can be issued an additional ticket supplying the alcohol for minors.
So again, my question is how difficult, or not difficult, but how willing are your deputies into engaging in having to break up these parent hosted parties? I mean, let's just be honest, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it's
guess
not, you know, it's tricky, obviously.
There's usually not a problem with willingness. This is, I hate to say, could be one of the more fun things you do, but it's not very often where you show up to a place where everybody's going to try and run and get away from you. And so,
It's entertaining.
you know, I mean, I don't want to make a joke of it,
Right.
but usually, I mean, back when Aaron and I worked evenings, that was a fun thing we got to go do, was try and bust an underage drinking party. So it's normally not something they shy away from. It's just it's a little bit harder than just showing up and breaking up the party, because we actually, you know, we can't just walk into the house and say, you know, show me your IDs. We have to find a way into the house, into the property. It's not just as easy as showing up and breaking it up.
So even if you've gotten a call from someone saying there's an underage drinking party, you can't just, that's not what is the word probable cause to just open the door and.
No.
They go in the house and they close all the doors, and even if they're can't just go. So in the past, when we've had large parties like that, obviously people park illegally in the road for the parking lot. We've towed vehicles and substitute for issuing tickets. We give them an opportunity to come out. If they refuse to come out, then we tow the vehicles.
So there's fines involved with towing and.
And in the past too, I mean, I've went as far as running registered owners and calling what is likely going to be parents at, you know, 1 or 2 in the morning and saying, you know, hey, what's going on? Why is your vehicle here at this house with 20 other vehicles at 1 in the morning? You know, if all else fails, the embarrassment from the parents getting that phone call at 1 in the morning usually has some repercussions for the child.
So Betsy, what's your impression of, or what are you hearing from the students on the social
Yes.
hosting?
Thanks for asking. So the data we're getting, anecdotal data from youth, is that there have been large parties in the county, in particular during the pandemic. There was a very clear description of 2 parties in the Sextonville area. And then when our coalition went to check with the DA's office, there was no report of that. So if law enforcement, it's not real clear if law enforcement did go to these 2 large parties, but then that information wasn't communicated to the DA's office. So we'd like to have more of us figuring it out together, you know, in partnership. Let's just not keep it with law enforcement. Let's communicate. Even if there isn't a citation or there isn't a social, it doesn't come to the courts. that there's communication and that we're all working together to figure this out. This should not be happening. Our kids, they learn far more from what they're able to do than when they get to school and they get the information about what alcohol does to their brain. Their environment really speaks to them more. So if we can clear up the gaps in communication, that's what this resolution is about more, and if it does come to a civil violation, that means somebody really, really did get hurt. So we don't want it to come to that. We'd mainly, obviously, enforcement, communication, collaboration. This is what the resolution is about, and engaging the community in it as well. So that's, that it is happening here. It's happening in our community with parents consenting.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's surprised by that. Yeah. She probably can't hear what you're saying. Mr. Steverson is reminiscing about his youth in Richland County. So, Sheriff Porter, what is your initial reaction to? So, I mean, I think it's the now therefore be it resolved paragraph that really is the meat of this. It's what we say we're going to do. I guess there is some question about, like, we have procedures for when we speak to the DA's office. I'm assuming we don't tell them about every speeding ticket we write or so that is something that we probably need to.
So, yeah, and so they have access. I mean, in that example, speaking, it's going to make it just
Right.
by the way our systems work. But let's say we respond to an underage drinking party. If we have no way to prove that that's what's actually going on at that residence, it's not going to get communicated to the DA's office. Just because they have enough work to do on their own. We don't need to give them, should there be a conversation that we had a possible underage drinking party, but like us to tell them every time we have what it would be gasoline, what I'm thinking of is an unfounded complaint. We weren't able to prove anything. Should we tell them about every one of those? It probably wouldn't hurt, but that, they have a lot of workload on their own as it is without us, running a log of.
Because there's nothing they can do if you have no evidence.
We have no evidence.
There's nothing you can do.
As the DA's office can do with it. So, but as far as, founded ones, if we have information, if we do have that evidence, certainly I think every one of them should be communicated with the DA's office. And if citations are wrote, they will see that. Whether or not that tells them who was hosting or whatever, it depends on what kind of citations are wrote, what they'll figure out from that. But at that point, I think we should have more of a conversation with they're saying, hey, this happened at this house. These people were aware of it or allowed it. I think that should take place.
Okay. So are you comfortable with what's in this paragraph? I mean, essentially it's saying that we'll work on communication, we'll work on. Which part don't you like, Supervisor Severson?
I just don't like just the one part where it says, we'll investigate and respond to reports to social host violations. If the reports result in a violation, citations will be issued to youth and property owners. It's almost like we're directing him to do something that, I don't know if that's a point of a resolution or is that an ordinance?
Oh, so that's what you were asking about, whether
Yeah.
it should be an ordinance or not. I mean, ordinances are certainly, we give you the authority to write.
But then
tickets
how
on
can you
some-
prove that people were drinking there? Like, mom and dad could have alcohol and have friends come over during the week all at times, and then they have their kids that are in school, but this weekend the kids have friends up coming over and there's beer cans laying around. How you know the kids were drinking them? It's not the parents that's left there.
I guess that's a
That's
question for you guys. What do you
Just
do?
like,
in-
did that give you probable cause now that you see a beer can, but you can't prove that the kids are drinking it to let you go into that house, or say that there was drinking there for you to keep knocking on the door? Or
Well, I guess I don't know if Jennifer's in on this meeting right now currently, but and she's kind of touched on this in the past, is that there's some nuances to these underage drinking laws where parents allowing it, parents allowing their minor children to drink kind of throws a wrench into enforcement anyway,
Because they can do that.
because they can do that legally, yes.
Yes.
And, so, I guess I always have concerns or issues or reservations myself with taking away my officer's discretion. Now, is there a good reason why somebody should be underage drinking? I can't really think of a reason why somebody should be underage drinking. But my officers have discretion for a reason, because there are situations, maybe in other situations, not involving alcohol. So when I start restricting that, I guess that's not something I take lightly.
I know what you're saying. I get it.
So instead of the language being issuing a citation, I mean, what if we just ask that they don't give them a free pass, but that they at least do a written warning and not just a verbal warning? Because the written warnings get in the system, right? No, but at least then we would know if they were a repeated violation for sure.
I guess I would say, as far as, issuing written warnings or verbal warnings, most times if we go to call an underage party, the officers are taking down all the names of the people. Normally, we go to an underage party, smell alcohol, we see someone with alcohol can, we give those party PBT, a preliminary breath test. And normally, no matter what the results come back, we're documenting what their name is, and that usually ends up in a report in our office.
So you do, if you see any kind of alcohol, you can do a breathalyzer, is essentially what you're saying. And then, I mean, then it's either yes or no, right? Either there's alcohol. I mean, at that point, if they blow anything, no matter how low it is, it's still, then you could issue a citation. Do you then? I mean, essentially, does everyone who blows any alcohol? Two. Okay, so it sounds like we have one sentence that is kind of a sticking point on this resolution. Is that that's what I'm hearing.
Could we
I mean, I think
potentially change the will to may?
I mean, I think, Betsy, I think your intention is that we're trying to really make sure and encourage that when a citation is warranted, it's given. Is that we're not giving people a free pass too often?
I think where communities have been the most successful in reducing substance use, thinking of the broader picture of meth use, for example, is that the community as partners are very clear that they're all on the same page about underage drinking and getting started with substances. So I think, that when Clay is talking about officer discretion, there could be some attitudes of the law enforcement officer that maybe they don't think it's so bad. I guess that would be my concern, that we get to a point where we're all on the same page about early use of substances. And I just want to mention that broader picture. The whole reason why we're doing this in the first place is that we can impact it downstream. So having that same level of effort and detail regarding these 12, 13, 14, 15, year olds getting started with substances, that were really clear about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is difficult because the adults that are enforcing this, many grew up going to these parties and having fun in high school, drinking. I mean, I can see how it's difficult. So yeah, I mean, so I understand that that's the challenge you're facing, is trying to change the mindset of people who grew up doing these things and think that it's not bad because they did it and they're fine.
So these whereases are the consequences of
Right,
not doing
right.
something.
Right, there's a lot of research out there now that's showing the impacts to a developing brain of early alcohol. I actually know some of the researchers that have done that work. So, yeah, so I mean, clearly it's important, but that's obviously that's what we're up against. We're up against our own adult mindset of that it's not so bad.
And I guess that I would mention that if there's any hesitation, it sounds like there is, that we take this one slower than the other one. If everybody's on board with the first resolution, let's go with that and take this step by step, because you can't change things overnight, but we definitely will be persistent in trying to change it.
Sheriff Porter, can you show this to your deputies and just ask them their reaction to it and like what they think and how they feel about it?
Yes, yeah, I can do that. And I just, I think maybe taking a little bit more time and we can discuss it maybe at the next Partners for Prevention meeting in a little further detail. I'm not terribly opposed to it. Like it's like I'm kind of borderline on it, but I think there's some things that could be discussed a little more. Historically, and I'm thinking back to Sheriff Berglund days, we were always told as deputies that there is zero tolerance for underage drinking. Was it ever in writing? Not that I ever remember seeing, unless it came through. It might have came through in the department memo that way once, way back in the day, but that was always the attitude towards underage drinking in the sheriff's department, as there was zero tolerance. If we found it, we were to cite for it. So and I'm thinking back on that. That's probably why I'm a little bit more open to the wording. But as of right now, looking at it right now, I'd be more comfortable with a may instead of a will in that last line.
Well, I would definitely be interested to know how the deputies feel. What is their comfort level? Do they, especially some of the young ones, it's got to be a little bit hard because they're so close to having just been at those parties.
Is this the May you're referring to right here, Clay?
Nope, one sentence up. If the reports result in a violation, citations will be issued to youth and property owners.
I like that. We'll bring it back to our committee, the alcohol compliance, our alcohol work group, excuse me, and discuss it a little bit. And when Clay is 100% okay with it, then we'll move forward, because we want to be, this is a communication tool and we want everybody on board because we want it to be successful above all. So if there's any hesitancy, that's where the discussion and the communication needs to come in.
You could even say something like if reports result in a violation, they would be encouraged to write, are encouraged to write citations to the youth and property owners or something like that, just making it clear that not only may they, but we're encouraging them to when it's warranted. But still not telling them they have to. We're just saying that so anyway, yeah, I think it's good. Take it back to your committee, talk about it some more, especially have Sheriff Porter talk with his deputies, since they're the ones that are out there doing this. I mean, how often do you guys have to go to parties and get called to parties now? So I think it's important to get the perspective of the people that are going to be out there and enforcing this too. So
Yes.
Okay. So anything further we want to talk about on that today? Otherwise, we will hope to talk to you about this again in November then.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Julie.
All right. Cool.
Thank you, Clay. Thank you, Melissa.
Yep, thank you. Okay, so let's move on to item number 6, coroner updates. You get any updates from the coroner? All right, so then we are to item number 7, the clerk of court updates, and Stacy is not here today, but Sarah, right, is joining us.
Good morning. Yes, Stacy is at a clerk's conference this week, so I'm just stepping in to kind of give you the highlights that she provided. Last month was Jury Appreciation Month, so she was on the morning show for WRCO, which if you missed it, it's broadcast online, so you can look it up and view it there if you so choose. There's also, she wrote in the Richland Observer a thank you to the jurors. And has been working with Clint, Derek, herself, and the judge had a meeting about reserving the county boardroom for jury trials due to our normal room is very small. So for COVID, the space is not very well for the distancing. And Clint and Derek and the judge and her are working on that. A calendar was provided for the judge to review when jury trials are happening to make sure that hopefully we can pinpoint down I believe it's the 4th and 5th week is typically when there's no meetings. So hopefully we can have our jury trials there. Unfortunately, with our jury trials, sometimes we don't know until pretty much after we're almost set up, which is unfortunate, but it's just the nature of the beast. And we'll let them know once those are canceled. I guess the last thing that I have is that we're starting to work on the 2022 jury year for sending out the questionnaires. There is 1,250 names that were given by the Department of Transportation that will be sent out hopefully starting next week. We just have to work on the backside page of the questionnaire, which is a little bit more than last year. So we'll have a few more people getting the jury questionnaire, which I'm sure that everyone will be really happy about. So,
Have you had better luck with them showing up?
we haven't. The first time that we had no shows, I believe there was 4 or 5 of them. And the next time there was a couple more that we had to send deputies out for. But since then, honestly, I don't recall if we had a jury trial go since then. But hopefully with the advertisement on the morning show and talking about how important it is for jurors to show up, that hopefully they will. I know that's very hard on people for work, since some companies don't reimburse them for the full pay that they're gone. So whatever check the county will provide, that's their pay for the day. So I understand their frustration there, and there's only so much that we can do. So providing a bigger room, allowing space for COVID, their comfort level, that's as much as we can really do for them. That is all I have, unless there's any questions.
Well, thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
So the Department of Transportation gives you names to select for jury.
Correct. If you have a valid driver's license, your name is basically put into that pool. If you don't have a driver's license, then you will not be picked for jury duty.
It's interesting.
But
I didn't know that.
yes, yeah. So if you are looking for a way out, you have to get rid of your driver's license, but no one wants to do that, so.
Interesting. All right, well, thank you. We appreciate you coming in Stacy's
Yeah.
place today. All right. All right, item number 8, Probate Department.
Morning, everyone. I just have a couple updates. Some of you may already know this. So Judge Sharp has gone back to being in Zoom. That was effective October 4th, this last Monday. And so everything is by Zoom except for jury trials and sobriety court. So he did put that announcement out there. I believe that was also in the newspaper. And then the second update is that my assistant, Devin McNerlin, has taken another position at a company, a local company she was not unhappy with. Richland County was just an increase in salary and similar benefits.
Saw that ad in the paper and I was like, what?
Yes, so I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that. So there are advertisements and we're looking, so I will be accepting applications through October 18th. You know, anyone that's interested?
Do you want to put that on the county website? Because I don't think we got anything to put on there.
Sure, yes, I'll, get that to you today.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We might as well hit all the resources. All right, anything else?
No, the budget is still under budget at this time, so that's good. And mainly that's the main updates. I don't know if anyone has any questions in particular.
Seems like things are moving along as per usual for the most part.
Yep.
Our new normal.
Correct.
Yeah. All right, so thank you. Moving on to item number 9, district attorney updates. I don't think she's here, although I don't know what that top middle number is, so. All right, we're going to assume that she is not here. All right, item number 10, approve monthly invoices and other sheriff's department reports.
I just see that Judy came in. We
Oh, you want to do you want to skip? Sure. Yeah.
do item 17.
Yep. Open and approve county stray animal rescue bid.
So we only got the one bid, so.
All right. We're just assuming it's from her.
I think we know it's.
You know?
I can just go ahead and read it. If you'd
Yes,
like.
please.
All right. 2022, $1,500, increasing prices, etc. And the building we use now is completely going to be redone in the months coming. I'm also asking you to consider the contract to be continuous, so the investments being made by Richland Area Rescue will be worth all the efforts. Sincerely, Judy Elliott. And there's a note here on the backside. I would appreciate knowing this is a more permanent position. I would still give a 30-day notice if we decide to not do it. And as before, you give us 30 days notice if we aren't up to your standards.
So in the past, we've done 3-year contracts. Is that correct? And is that by some sort of ordinance and or state statute that is there any legal reason why we pick 3 years?
Not that I'm aware of.
Do we have any concerns with? I mean, so keeping the contract language so that either party has a 30-day out seems like, does it really matter how long? I mean, I do think it's good to review it, make sure that we're.
I think it probably has been done this way, just more to open it up for.
Oh, for other people.
Yeah,
That's true, because we are public.
Yeah, or that way, at least every so often, there's a competitive bidding process.
What if we did like 5 years instead of 3 or something? That's true. So we do 5-year contracts. So, I mean, I understand where Richland Area Rescue is coming from, that, you know, that if you're investing in things, that makes sense to me, that you would want some kind of commitment that you're, on the other hand, you're right, you bring up a good point that we are a public entity, that we should be making sure that there is the opportunity for other people to, seems unlikely, but so would we be comfortable with the 5-year? How do you feel about the 5-year? Judy? I mean, not that we wouldn't renew. I mean, I think we would probably end up renewing after 5 years as well, but at least then we would have a process. I don't know, you guys. So it just ongoing contract, meaning what? How often do you sign it? Thoughts, Mitty? Mr. Turk? Mr. Cosgrove? Mr. Severson? Anyone have any thoughts? Wait, are we allowed to have an open-ended? I don't know what the rules are. Mr. Langrick, are you still? Oh, he's not on anymore. I don't know what the rules are.
I don't think we have any kind of board rules that specifically put parameters on that.
Supervisor Turk, do you have any concerns as far as, the idea that we want to make sure that other people have the opportunity to bid, just being a public government?
I think we
entity?
definitely want to make sure that we are giving opportunity, but history has shown there's not been a ton of interest in this.
Right.
And I think there's a reality there to acknowledge as well. And maybe looking at that 5-year period is a good balance. It does create some certainty for a contracting entity, but would at some point, and as was explained, if either party's dissatisfied with the arrangement, there's an out.
Right. So would someone be willing to make a motion to that effect? Supervisor Cosgrove? Do I have a second? Mr. Severson, are you seconding?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? So I guess in that motion, we're also saying we're accepting the bid, obviously, and that it's for 5 years. Any discussion on that? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. That was a unanimous aye. So there you go. So we have 5 years, and we can talk about it again in years if we want to make it longer.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so now back to monthly invoices and sheriff department reports.
Any questions about the invoices?
Seems like a short list this month.
Sure does.
I was like, wow, that's only small. I had one question and now I'm blanking on it. I assume all the uniform budget was all for mostly new people.
Yeah, most of them are new on there.
Oh, I know. Town and Country TV, it says repair of machines. What does that mean? What kind of machines? Oh, like washing machines? Okay, I was
Yeah.
like, what? Okay. No, I don't have any other questions. Anyone else have questions on the bills? If not, I would entertain a motion to pay them.
Oh, Gary Severson will move.
Dave will second.
All right. Any other discussion on the bills?
Cornerstone, do you guys float around to different businesses? Sometimes I see you over the Windows and
So we,
Sean Grimm's and
yeah, we primarily use 3 shops now for our vehicle maintenance. So we use Cornerstone. They have our 4 Durangos. And then the rest of the fleet is split between Bindles and Sean's based on, so if it's squad 1, the rest of the fleet is split odd or even. If it's an odd number squad, it goes to
That's a good way to do
Bindles.
it.
If it's even, it goes to Sean's.
A good way to split it up. Just
then you got Philback Ford.
We do have a couple vehicles that go to fillbacks every once in a while. Like our F-150s have gone there for things, or if it's a little bit more complex, sometimes they go to fillback.
It's spreading it around.
yeah, I think that's been the practice for a while now. We've had that discussion. a
We
few
added
times.
Cornerstone last year, or it was just evenly split between Bindles and Sean's.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right. The bills are paid. Which report would you like to do next? The jail?
Yeah, so we are, if you can see, our September numbers are down again slightly from August. I don't know if we're sliding into winter. Things are getting less busy or what the cause of that is, but our bookings are down. Average population is down. And our number on electronic monitoring is down. 340 calls for service, 86 calls for EMS, and 48 calls for the police department.
So can you go over what our health officer at HHS had to say about our practices in the jail for COVID?
So my jail sergeants are working on that, and I haven't got a report back from them on that, but they were gonna work with ACH, who's our healthcare provider in the jail, and Rose, and see if there's any improvement they could make to what they're doing in the jail, and I don't have a report back on that yet.
So have we had COVID in the jail yet?
We have not had COVID, well, not within the inmate population.
Because we had 177 cases in our county last week, so the numbers are ramping up countywide. So trying to keep it out of the jail would be good.
Yes,
Would be very good from a, well, health standpoint for sure, but from a budget standpoint as well.
yes.
Plus trying to keep people quarantined and away. Do we have a plan for where we would put people?
So that's one of our big challenges with the size of our jail is in our inmate population, coupled is that we don't have enough space to really, we try to have a dedicated space for quarantining. That's one thing the jail inspector, you need to have, but we have 3 holding cells and we try and dedicate a block to that, but just due to jail population, it's not always possible. So in a perfect situation, we have a cell block that we would put people in for a quarantine period when they came in. But then you have, what if it's a male, what if it's a female, and you only have one cell block, you can't mix. So, it's,
Right.
we don't have the ideal setup for it. We
Right.
really don't.
When is our next jail inspection?
It actually just took place.
Oh,
So,
okay.
and I did express with Nathan that you would be interested in being part of the closeout meeting of that inspection.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Definitely want to hear what he has to say. Okay. All right. Anyone have any questions on that report? All right. So then you want to talk about mileage? Oh, no, that's under cars. We can talk about squads later. So I guess we go back to the agenda. Right?
Yes.
Okay, so that would be item number 11, approval to rehire former employee for casual road patrol position.
So we had Deputy Liz Redmond, who in mid-September had left our department to go to a private company. We've had discussions over the last few weeks about her potentially coming back, and she would be interested in coming back, helping with transports, the occasional patrol shift. She's not super excited about getting back on patrol, but she is open to transports. And then additionally, she was our evidence custodian, so she handled our evidence storage room, transferring evidence from, our temporary storage lockers into the more permanent storage location, all the records and stuff that have to go with that, which is kind of a big liability for the department. So that's another thing I'd like to bring her back for, is the possibility of maybe coming in a couple hours a week and just keeping things flowing in the evidence room for us. So she was the only person who was really trained as an evidence custodian that we had left. And actually, aside from myself, the only one left in the department trained as an evidence tech. So I think bringing her back in a casual capacity, even just for that, would probably be worth it. But the fact that she's willing to help pick up transports will be helpful as well.
We have the budgetary line for casuals, right?
Yes.
And we still have money in it?
Yep.
Good question. Okay. All right. So I would entertain a motion to approve that.
Carrie Severson moves. Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Go ahead and tell her thank you. All right. Item number 12, exit interview, employee retention information and discussion. Right? Did I skip something?
Nope, you didn't. I
Okay.
just left that stuff downstairs.
Oh, do you want to come back to that?
Yeah, we can come back to that.
Okay. Item number 13, discussion regarding future jail administrator position.
So Actually, I'll let Aaron talk about that because he was part of that conversation as well, and I'll run downstairs and grab my stuff.
All right, so at the last jail inspection, we talked to Nathan White. Realized that Richland County is the only jail in Wisconsin that doesn't have a jail administration position. The only one in the whole state that doesn't have that position available. So after talking with Nathan, I spoke with all the surrounding counties, kind of to see what their job descriptions were for their jail administrator position, as far as their wages, starting pay, and their max pay as well. I did put that documentation into the file along with what I would say would be the job description for Richland County if we did create that position. At the very bottom of the sheet, just put a few notes on there as far as the surrounding counties that got back to me. Iowa County, as far as their jail administrator position, they just performed the inside jail duties, so they're responsible for the hiring, disciplinary hearings, taking care of policies, everything pretty much at jail. Within the jail, they take care of those issues. Starting pay for them is $34.88 an hour. Max is $46.51. Sauk County, their jail administrator positions very similar. I guess the one that's the outlier was Crawford County, and their jail is very similar to, I guess, what our jail size would be like. And what they did for that position is their jail administrator position also deals with transports and doing court security. Obviously, right now, we don't have a whole lot of interest with people doing court security. So I feel if we could add a position to knock off several different issues that we have difficulties getting people to apply for. Guy that does it over there, he says that he does about 90% of their transports. And then if they don't have availability for someone to sit up in court, he actually goes up and sits. And I guess after talking with Clay, we kind of looked at the pay scale and thought maybe that if we were able to create that position, to bring it in at the same pay as like a road department sergeant, which would be starting at $25.15 an hour.
So I have a couple questions. So what was Rita's position title?
Was the jail sergeant.
Okay,
We still have 2 jail sergeants right now.
okay. So are you suggesting that one of those positions could be the administrator and take on the duties of the administrator and do whatever it is that is different from what they're already doing?
You have to have a bachelor's degree.
And that could be up for, I mean, that's just.
That was just a
discussion-
sample.
Discussion point,
Yeah.
it's just an example on there. But as far as, I don't know if we could take a jail position to the jail administrator position, just to the fact we need the staffing levels that we have in the jail, and this would be
Also, looks like the requirements though they have to have some type of be able to handle a firearm and go shooting, test qualify out and be certified in law enforcement. Some jailers are not certified in law enforcement, they're certified in jail duty.
that's not a requirement to have this position. Once again, this is just examples from the other counties, and it is true that I know Sauk County and Vernon County, they do have that requirement that they are a certified law enforcement officer. But it doesn't mean that they would have to be. It just means that, technically a road officer could apply to do that position, but they'd also have good understanding of the jail policies and procedures as well.
And I think, the way we're envisioning it is if we were to make it like a kind of a multi-purpose role where we're covering court security and transports, they're going to have to be a certified law enforcement officer. There's no way around it.
So essentially, you're asking for an added position.
At this point, we're just discussing adding position. Obviously, you have to go through a budget process and everything.
That's a very minor detail, but yes. Have you spoken with Administrator Langreck on this?
We have not yet.
Okay. So my suggestion first and foremost is I think we should speak with Administrator Langrick and get his input on the idea. I mean, I understand that this does seem like it's a missing position, but obviously for the budget part is going to make this incredibly difficult to attain, in my opinion. Other supervisors?
Why did you go with jail administrator, not like another name? Corporal or
It's,
whatever.
you know, actually, I'll be honest with you. One thought was to make it like a lieutenant position.
That's what
but
I was thinking, that
I
this would be
think
around the lieutenant spot.
with the amount of people that person, I guess I'm not sure. We were thinking pay wise that, you know, as it being a jail position, but possibly kind of part of a road position, or at least a security position, that patrol sergeant pay area would be a good spot. So I think just jail administrator was kind of what we were looking at for the position.
And some of these other surrounding counties, they did have a different name for that position. You know, like some did say corporal or whatever for the jail. A couple of them just call it the jail administrator position. Just, I mean, the preference as far as what do you want to call the position.
I think Sauk County, it's the title, the person is like captain of security or something like that. Yeah.
And what was the inspector's exact, like,
He didn't, so he didn't tell us we have to have the position, and so I don't want it to sound like that. His wording basically was, I think that it needs to be said, and you need to hear that you are the only jail in the state that does not have a jail inspector or a jail administrator, sorry.
and we don't have someone that's performing these duties that just doesn't have the title? So it's not like we have it, we just haven't named it?
It's kind of, I would say it's probably, in our department, it's primarily been handled by the chief deputy.
Supervisor Cosgrove, Supervisor Turk, any comments? Clint, yeah.
And I guess, you know, like you said, it's a budgeting issue, and with the budget pretty much being set for 2022, I think both Clay and myself, I think more looking towards 2023.
Oh, you'd have to, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're trying to bring it in this year. We just want to open up a discussion to.
Start early, because yeah. The longer we talk about it, to try to work it into the budget, if that's where something that we decide to do.
What you gave here is like ideas on this sheet that you gave us, because it says like approve payroll time cards and authorize staff leave and vacation time, as well as prepare work schedules. I think that falls under chief deputy and the sheriff, in my opinion. That would be that type of a duty, and then it sounds like he's just gonna be your all-around guy that does everything.
Well, as far as the time, like approving vacations and schedule and stuff like that, right now, the sergeants in the jail are doing pretty much the scheduling, approving vacations and stuff for the jail already. Right now, as far as what roles I have on this that probably get passed off is, like, right now I do all the administrative hearings. So if there's any issues in the jail, they go through me. I take care of all those issues. But there's a lot of things in here that pretty much I just copied and pasted from Sauk County. I just looked at Sauk, Vernon counties, and just put them in there for just topics as far as what we could discuss for that position if we were able to get that position.
I'd be for it.
I mean, in a perfect world, I wouldn't even hesitate, right? It makes total sense. You want someone administering in jail to make sure, especially like with COVID and everything. I mean, they're, having someone handling all of that stuff. But unfortunately, we don't live in that kind of world. So it's going to come down to budgetary issues. So I think, yeah, let's definitely get Mr. Langrick involved and start those conversations, which then eventually will bring us to finance. I would definitely want to see it fleshed out a little bit more, like not just an example, but actually specifically what you'd be looking for. I think you might as well start doing that right away. Come up with an actual description, which Mr. Langrick may be able to help you with as well. But anyway, okay. All right, anything further on that today? And do we want to go back
Yeah,
to
we can go back.
exit interviews? Okay, so now we'll be on 12, exit interview, employee retention information and discussion.
So, I have 2 completed exit interviews now from employees who have left rather recently. And I think kind of the resounding, so I give them 5 yes or no questions. Do you feel you were treated in a respectful manner? Do you think wages and benefits are fair? Were your coworkers helpful and supportive? Was management responsive to your suggestions and needs? Did you feel workload was manageable? And then there's 2 that are kind of more open questions. What did you like best about working at the Richland County Sheriff's Department? What did you like least about working at the Richland County Sheriff's Department? And then there's a space below that for additional comments that they need to make. So both of these are actually, they're very similar. 1 through 5, all the answers were yes, except for question 2, wages and benefits. And both, so one of them checked no, one of them checked yes and no. So the jail person checked just no. The road person apparently waffled on that a little bit. So that, I mean, I like what I see there except for the wages and benefits, and we've been discussing that for a while now. Question 6, one of the people answered, there are great, what do you like best about working at the Richland County Sheriff's Department? There are great coworkers in the department, and the idea of being the main person of help without your dispatchers and their good work. You have no positive, I'm not quite sure if I'm reading this correctly. There are great coworkers in the department. The idea of being the main person of help without your dispatchers and their good work, you have no positive response times to calls. I'm not quite sure what that is getting at. And then what did you like least? At times there are choices made for hiring people and some staff decisions made during incidents. And, you know, some of the people getting wrapped up in drama in the department. And being behind brick walls for 8.5 to 12 hours is not the most fun thing. So the other person, what did you like best? Enjoyable working atmosphere. What did you like least? When health benefits were changed from the state plan. And then one of the comments, offer education incentives or reimbursement each year up to a certain dollar amount.
So one of the things I was thinking about countywide, not just but is that I would really like to know from the employees, because everyone keeps bringing up insurance, but like the county just absorbed a 16% increase in insurance premiums this year. Like we didn't ask the employees to pay any of it. The county, you know, so the taxpayers are paying it. But so I don't think people want to pay more for their insurance, but they want better insurance. So I really think we need to get a really good feel from the employees what they're willing to pay for, and because it's not going to it just can't. We don't have the capacity for the county to just pay for the state benefits without the employees kicking in more. So that to me, it's this horrible catch-22. I mean, we could offer better insurance, but the insurance we have now just cost us 16% more. 200 and how much was it? 200 and
I don't know, Administrator Langrick just told me yesterday that the employees are gonna be paying for it, not the county.
Yeah. Give you 16% increase, you'll have to pay a person.
that's different than what was talked about at finance.
Employees still are responsible for their.
Oh, well, that's true, but then the county is still paying the 80 or what? Are you guys paying 12? You guys are paying 12%, right? So yours went up 16% of that 12%. Yeah, so yours is going, yeah. But I mean, but the portion that the county had to cover is hundreds of thousands of dollars that we had to incorporate into the budget.
I've talked to it actually is through our insurance now. By $120 per employee.
It probably depends on your income, right? Isn't the state, that it's not income dependent?
But I know Clint also said that was before this. I don't know if the state has come out with their rates yet. So, well, that's supposed to be coming out here soon. So,
So Mr. Langer, is he on? I think he had convened a group of people to talk about insurance. Were you on that?
I was on that.
Are we going to continue to have that group so we can, each year we can continue to talk about this to change, make changes?
My understanding is that kind of ended on this whole, it's a 60%. You know, talking with Clint, he said that we're gonna have to readdress the switch. Talk to any of the employees, it seems like it's all the way across the board the same way as, you know, we're paying high deductible, but if we went with the state plan, we wouldn't be paying hardly anything out of pocket, and the county's gonna pay no more if we switch to the D plan.
So did that group find that we can and should go back to the state plan?
I think the end of the discussion pretty much was that time, also Cooper and Elliott were a little bit cheaper for the county, obviously before the 16% increase. So they weren't willing to really move from that plan. And obviously, it's a little bit late to get into the state plan at this point. I think October 1st was the deadline.
Yeah, you can't.
So it's not possible for this next year. But I think it was going to be looked at, and the other fear was, right now we're a quartz plan as a county, and the quartz plan still costs a little bit more under the state than with Wells, Cooper, and Elliott. However, Dean's is cheap. It just means that you'd have to go from your UW Gunderson to St. Mary's. So, I mean, it'd be if people have a set doctor, they have to be willing to change where they're going.
Which that doesn't make people happy either.
Doesn't make people happy, but I think as a whole, I think people would rather find a new doctor than have to pay $4,000 out of pocket.
Right.
And if you want employee input, I think if you give them the apples to apples so they can really compare the two instead of just being told that this is what the state has, here's what courts has. Just having all the information like given to the employees and asking their input, I feel like it's a more open conversation and things aren't appearing to be hidden from the employers. I think that may be part of the issue. Also, previously, I was on the state plan in my old job, and every year you had the option of 3 different insurance companies, and you can look at the rate. One may be more of increase, but you can switch it to a different one. And one location may only provide for a certain area, but the next one may provide for your current provider. It just all depends. So having that benefit to actually choose to what program you want to have. If you want to pay the higher one because that's where you're at with your hospital, great. But if you are someone that doesn't have a lot of health issues, then you could go to the lower plan. It just gives more options for the employer. I know it's a lot more work for the county, but overall, I think you get more happiness with the employees. But that's just my opinion on it.
Well, I think it's a common
So-
opinion. I mean, it's the theme I keep hearing from all the employees is.
That's the way it was, like when I first started. They did offer the state plan with different rates, and if you wanted to pay for the higher plan for the different facilities, you just paid the difference for that. I know one of the other concerns was that, like for Wells, Cooper, and Elliott, they did a lot of data entry in for the insurance. And so if we went to the state plan, it would create more work for Tammy. And I know that was a concern that their office had.
So it seems to me like this conversation needs to keep happening because what's happened the last 2 years is by the time we start talking about wanting to try to change, it's too late to make the change. And so it gets delayed another year. At least that's what's happened. What been my impression the last 2 years. So I think we need to have this conversation. So this group, this working group, And maybe surveying, I don't know what Mr. Langrick has done so far, but surveying the employees seems like it would really go a long way in figuring out what people are willing to do and pay for the insurance that they can have. Okay. I mean, I don't feel like that's off topic because that's exactly what your exit interviews, I feel like we're still on agenda because the exit interviews clearly point to benefits as an issue.
And before I started the exit interviews, just talking with people when they leave, that was always I mean,
Top of the list.
That came up every time. It was, well, my insurance is going to be better here. And like, that was sometimes the pay was comparable or even a little less, but my benefits are going to be better, you know? So people put a lot of value, you should put a lot of value into your insurance. And so, you know, people are even willing to leave for a little less pay, but their insurance is better.
We did have one employee that left because they get better benefits at Culver's. So, I mean,
Culver's, that has exceptionally good benefits. They do treat their employees really well. Yeah. Okay. Anything further on that topic? I think continue to do those. I think they're informative, and we can use those evaluations as leverage when we're, you know, at finance, when we're talking about budget and talking about insurance. And, I think, yeah, the more surveying we can do of our employees, the easier that will be then to have those conversations when we're talking about the budget. All right. So then we are to item number 14, possible approval for Sheriff's Department Clerical Assistant 2 position to move to step G.
So we've been having discussions with Sue Curtis, who is our clerical assistant to, she's kind of administrative assistant would probably be more accurate in terms of what she is. She reports to Amber herself. And I guess I'm probably going to start out by saying, looking at the job description that I'm guessing was what was provided to, was it Carlson Detman that did the wage study?
Yeah.
Looked like it was typed on a typewriter, and it probably was typed on a typewriter. And I'm guessing, well, I know from looking at it, as some of the duties have stayed the same, but it's not the most accurate job description of what she does. I mean, there is an expectation if Amber's gone that she has to pick up some of Amber's duties and stuff like that, and that wasn't really accurately portrayed in the original job description. So, and then there's the other side of the coin too, is that not that she said she would or wouldn't, but there's another opening in the courthouse that she could walk into and immediately start making more money. So,
been here, it'll be 31 years next month.
Have you talked to Mr. Langrick about this?
no.
I mean, he's going to be where you're going to start, because I don't think we can do anything without going through the Carlson Detman, submitting a new job description with additional duties.
So, and I guess I wasn't sure if we could go ahead and do that without any kind of committee
I don't think
approval.
so.
So, without committee approval.
Oh, without a committee approval? I mean, it won't hurt for us to give our approval, right?
I'm for going ahead and just doing it. I'd be fine with that. I mean,
You mean go ahead and giving her the raise?
yeah, I mean, you're doing the same.
Has to go through class.
Okay.
So we can, this group can then tell you to, instruct you to speak with Administrator Langrick about, I think either way, you're going to need an updated job description.
Yeah, and we prepared one.
Is that the one that's in there? Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if that was the official. You didn't do it on a typewriter?
What step is she currently at now?
So,
Or what grade? Yeah.
so she's at step 4 of grade F.
Which is what?
So at step 4, she's making $8 an hour. Step 2, B would then be 19.
And you have the money to do this in your budget?
Well, we didn't budget for this, no.
That's going to be tricky then.
Yeah.
them, I think it probably, costs money for.
Retraining a new Sue.
She applied for her job.
Good. I mean, she could apply for it.
I didn't want to come right out and say it, but yeah.
Oh, whatever. I'm thinking of how many openings we have in the courthouse and.
Look at what the deputy register of deeds gets, you know, at step 2, and what the zoning administrative assistant in zoning, Cheryl's spot, was she there for a wage? It's basically comparable to somebody who's been here for 31 years and now they're getting.
I don't disagree. I mean, I'm sure she's worth every penny. But the reality is we have to figure out how we would budget for it and where the money would come from, which is a conversation you can have with Mr. Langrick, I'm sure. Right? I mean, the money has to come from somewhere. Are we saying we want to take it out of contingency? Are we saying we want to take it out of the general fund?
You just need to do something countywide for employees.
Well, I agree. Yeah, I
It needs
agree.
to be done.
I agree. So do we want to make a motion that we approve this and are sending it on for Administrator Langrick's input? All right, so I have a motion by Cosgrove,
Second.
second by Severson. Any further discussion on that? Supervisor Turk, did you have any concerns or
No.
questions about? Okay. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Right?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. All right, so please continue that conversation with Administrator Langrick and he'll be able to tell you what, if you have to go to Carlson Detman for, I mean, that's in the past, what we've done is the description has to
job
come.
description.
Yeah, it's just a cost, yeah, we just have to pay to have that done.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right. You guys just decided to bite it all off at once, right? Like, well, we're going for it. Let's go for it. All right. That brings us to 15, approval to add a county ordinance regarding livestock running at large.
Yeah. We've had a lot of issues. Certain livestock on the road, not only in the road. Point, we have no way to do any type of enforcement. The only type of enforcement that can be done really is if it's a intact male that's on neighbor's property. Then we have an ordinance, actually the state statute, then we can issue. But say if someone's cows are on my property for.
There's no state statute saying you have to keep your animals in.
Intact males.
That would be a bull. Yeah, that would be a bull or
A bull, a billy,
ram.
yeah.
So, and there's a lot of, I guess, county people are calling the sheriff's department and wanting something done, but I mean, we pretty much found our hands are tied, that they need to contact their township chairman because there's fence laws, but at the time, it's hard for them to enforce as well.
Our next door neighbor for many years had animals running.
Yeah. Yep, yeah.
Oh, we lived with it for years, animals being out, like an entire herd of Angus. Sure, everybody knows who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yaks.
No, our yak, we had one yak get out, but we caught her now.
So I guess our thought is if
there was an
something
ordinance.
in place, way that we could, there's some enforcement, similar to like the dogs run at large. Dogs run at large. Word ordinance to be very similar to dogs run at large. Just want to say, Barb?
Talk to your mind, kid's not coming through well.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah, so if we create something that's very similar to dogs run at large, that would be beneficial to help out the public with those issues with their neighbors, cattle or whatever animals running at large.
Do you have a drafted ordinance already?
I was gonna say, do other counties have an ordinance for
And I have not seen one. I was told by one of our oldest deputies that there actually used to be an ordinance, and I have not been able to find it. But that, and from what he said, that was probably 20-some years ago. They had one. It was supposed to be reamped, and then it kind of just disappeared. So I guess I'd probably have to redo it, and I'd probably do the wording very similar to our dogs running at large ordinance.
Is there a fine involved with our dogs running at large? Is
Yep.
it per animal? See, with cattle, would it be per animal or would it be
I
per
think that would,
instance or per day?
I think per instance would probably be more appropriate than per animal because, I mean,
If you have a 500 cattle,
yeah.
get out, which presumably you'd be on top of that right away, but not always.
The cattle always get out at my place down there in 14. They're always on the freaking roadway.
but I mean,
it's-
that's a little bit different because, you know, you get contact, you put the cattle in right away.
Yeah.
There's issues within the public now where animals are out, the owners know they're out, they're not in the roadway, so they're just letting them be.
Either making no effort
Just
to contain them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it could be, you know, just like dogs are at large, it's at the discretion of the deputy too.
So wouldn't that be considered property damage then?
Well, I'm sure there is some civil liability in it, and the existing laws for intact males running at large, there is some wording, and I couldn't tell you how it would begin to work where a landowner can charge, like, is it $5 $5 a
per
head
day.
per day for maintaining the animals? So like it gets on your property, you can start charging. I don't know how you
If
ever
only that was
collect
ever
on that.
true.
but-
Yeah.
You gotta think
was
it's
no way
civil
we would've
court,
been
and
able to
then you have
collect.
all the civil fees along with it too, so this would just make it an easier situation, like I think for dogs around at large. Well, the way that we handle it, the first offense, it's just a warning, we issue a warning, it's documented in our system, so if it happens again, we issue a dogs running at large citation, first offense, which I think is like $170, and then step two, if it happens the second time, I think it's $200 some, and third offense is $300.
I mean, I think this is a good idea.
Did you
I'm
create
surprised
something
we
like
didn't
that
have
up
it.
already? You have it on paper?
Did not do it, no, so
Well, let's
create
do
something
it,
up.
get it on paper, what you want for fines and whatever, and then we can hash it out what we think is right. You may think $200 is good, but why am I saying give him $500? Whatever, something. We hash it out and then we send it off to the attorney and he may get his
Yeah.
blessing. We take it to the county
So
board.
bring it next month. I'm gonna bring a
Next
prepared
month?
one for next month. Yeah, I mean, it seems like a good idea. It's actually surprising that there isn't already. But I do remember living through that and it was really, really frustrating. We did get sent from the sheriff's department to the township and nobody wants to deal with it. And it was frustrating.
So, and it's frustrating for us taking those calls and having to tell people that there's,
Nothing you
is
can
it-
do.
asking, is it an intact male? And then, oh, it's not, well, there's nothing we can do. So,
I will say that we did have experience where we had two bulls, our neighbor's bulls, fighting in our driveway right where the kids were supposed to get picked up. And we called and they said there was nothing they could do, even though they were bulls fighting. So I'm not sure. That was probably 18 years ago though. So maybe things have changed since then. I just remember like, how am I supposed to get my kids on the bus? I got two bulls fighting in the end of my driveway. It's awful.
I think like in your dollar wise for fines, like the 200, I think is a little lenient. I think it's a good starting point, to pick up call, but that $500 to $1,000 fine, that's really getting into the pockets on it. But then what do you do if somebody says, okay, I'll just pay $1,000 and I'll pay $1,000 because eventually I can sell these cattle and get that money back. So there's got to be something where we can take the cattle away from them, put them over to Judy's or somewhere, like we got to think about something that they have it out. People say, well, here's a fine, here's a fine, here's a fine.
Were you guys involved in catching Mr. Martin's cattle? I think deputies' cars got damaged and they were shooting them, trying to catch them, and
I was not involved in that, but I know the stories.
it was bad.
It was bad.
It was bad. They were trying to catch the cattle because the owner refused to catch them, and
they were Angus bulls that were the size of trucks.
I'm telling you, those are the ones that were fighting in our driveway. Yeah. It's a complicated. I agree with you. I think that, you give them something easy the first time, but if you got to be going a second and third time, it should be something serious that gets a serious wake up call that you cannot ignore. You've got to keep your animals on your land.
So then what happens if they're in the roadway and get hit by a car?
Well, then you're
That-
civilly
something
really
that's-
liable.
That's a civil suit then?
That's a civil. It's not criminal though. There's no criminal.
Well, there's a citation for livestock on the roadway, but they have to be Like, I
Pretty
don't know
much
how to say it.
using.
They have,
using
pretty
the-
much have to refuse to go
get
try and
that out of the
remove them.
roadway.
If, you can cite them if they make no effort to remove the animal from the roadway.
Hmm.
So once notified too, that's the other thing is so once we notify them that their cattle are on the roadway, they have to make no effort. So then we can cite them for that.
So if I have a chicken on the road, is it chicken livestock?
It'd be livestock, yeah.
Our chickens do go on the road occasionally.
Some chicken wire up.
Well,
It does beg the question though, what is our definition of livestock? You know,
Well-
I mean, is it seriously a chicken? Can my neighbor, if he gets mad at me, call you guys up and say that her chickens are in the road?
I guess I'll say that in zoning, a chicken is like a 1,000th of an animal. So yeah, does I think zoning considers them livestock?
That's true for zoning of,
Hope so.
I'm just curious. I mean, all joking aside, you know, I do
would
have
say
free range
consider-
chickens.
Yeah, I would probably consider it livestock. I mean, zoning, if you look at what they base animal units on for how many you can.
No,
have on
it's
your
true. Yeah,
property.
because if they want
Yeah.
to build a facility with chickens, you have to count up how many animal units you have. So they have to assign.
Yeah,
Well, that's something to consider, I guess, before we get too strong hands. I'm going to start getting fined for my chicken in the road. Chickens in the road.
Good, that's why they come up with something and then we gotta discuss it.
Right.
We're legislating.
I mean, it's true because we do want to make sure that it isn't cumbersome either. I mean, I'm sure you don't want to respond to a chicken in the road.
Well, I'm pretty sure, I mean, the statutory written for livestock in the road.
and I don't actually, by state statute, I don't know that poultry are listed.
Because they do actually cross the road.
That's the statute's already in place. This is the keep for animals not in the roadway, so.
So we actually they never get hit. Certainly wander around. Okay. So yeah, bring that back. I think, all joking aside, I think it's definitely a serious topic that we need to look into and give you guys the tools that you need to be able to do something about it if we have people that are being unresponsive.
So it would essentially be, so like, let's say there's a pasture and the cattle get out of the pasture, but they're in the farmer's fields and he doesn't do nothing about it. That's okay. Is that what you're saying is right? It's just when it gets on the neighbor's property or the right of way, roadway, that becomes an issue.
I think it'd be more of like, so if I have cows and you're my neighbor.
Yeah.
And my cows are going to your property, you don't want them there. This gives us the ability to send you a citation for not getting
Right.
down.
But if they're
Once
just
they're-
outside of the actual pasture, it's still on the farmer's property or what he rents.
They're still on your property, just like the
Yeah,
dogs
so-
are at large. As long as the dog's on your own property, you're not gonna be cited for
Okay.
that.
Yeah,
But
the way the dog's running at large ordinance is written is the animal basically has to be in the owner's control. So we kind of just interpret that as if it's on the owner's property, it's under their control. So
All right. So yeah, we look forward to having an ordinance in front of us then for next time. All right. Item number 16, recommendation to archive social media accounts for open records protection.
so I'm gonna include Barb in on this conversation because it probably should have come from her department anyway. But we've been hit up by Archive Social, and I probably shouldn't admit this, but I've been ignoring them for probably about a year now, listening to their sales pitch. But they provide a service basically that allows us in the event of an open records request to access our data from social media that it's just cataloged. They can provide it. Like if somebody says, I want all your social media data or, posts, whatever, from this time period to this time period, they can provide that. Right now, we can't currently do that because if you go on and delete your post and I can't recover that. So that technically was a public record at that point when you posted it, and when you removed it, it's still a public record and I can't provide it. So
All this on your sheriff's department Facebook page.
what was it?
All this on your sheriff's department
Mhm.
Facebook page.
And so this goes for any Facebook page, social media page for the entire county.
Rants and chats or whatever that.
Well, no, county run,
County-
government,
County ran one.
county run, government run.
So
social
say
media.
like the one that we had for the tractor theft, you know, people post stuff on there and say, someone would have posted, hey, this guy's the one that took the tractor.
Yeah.
And then he realized, well, I don't want this guy to know that I was the one that ratted him out. He goes on there and deletes it.
Yeah.
Then he sends this request for that, you know, as the suspect, and he's arrested. Now his attorney
Sure.
wants that post of who put that on there. We can't provide it. We're liable.
Interesting. Thoughts?
Gets a little more complicated than just social media as well.
Right. We have a lot of openings that I'd really rather not discuss in an open meeting. We have a lot of things that we aren't keeping for open records that are so much bigger than this. This is important, but we have bigger holes to fill than that.
So is this something we should be speaking about countywide and not just specific to the
Absolutely.
sheriff's department?
Absolutely. This
Are those-
isn't a bad thing. This is something we should be doing. We have county-owned Apple devices that all of you own. All of our deputies, all of our social workers are on iPhones. We can use them for texting. We aren't protected there either. That's a bigger gap.
So it sounds to me like this is something that a conversation that should be happening with MIS and our administrator to then bring to whichever body.
It is, and we've met, I heard this company's presentation 3 years ago. And while there's value there, it was a conversation that I came back, talked to our then county board chair. There wasn't any money. And this costs money, and everything else that we do costs money. So we have to find that, and I don't know where we're gonna find that.
Did they say how much? Did they quote you anything? Or was it in here?
So
Sorry.
they have three pricing options. They have three pricing options on their website if you look at Archive Social. But they have and so base price is what they said we would probably use, but they were talking about us specifically as a department, not as a whole county entity.
Would this also include your iPhones?
No.
It's
It
just
doesn't
social media.
touch that much.
Just social media. Okay.
So it was $249 a month.
$249 a month?
Yeah,
Just for
for
essentially Facebook?
so that's 1,500 new records a month for up to 12 social media accounts. And then the next step up is $499. That's unlimited social media accounts, 3,500 new records a month. And then the premium was $699 a month. And again, unlimited social media accounts, unlimited data storage, and up to 6,000 new records a month, which I doubt the entire county we're
Yeah,
probably
we
not.
do. We would hit that.
You think we would?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I won't comment on that.
We have 13 Facebook accounts throughout the county, I think it was. We have Instagram, we have Twitter, we have Snapchat, all of those things. So each of those posts would be one of them. Each of those accounts, and when you start doing all the posts that come out of those, you hit the 6,000 with all the comments on the posts easily. Every single one of your posts is viewed by a minimum of 5,000 people. And the comments and the shares that go on with those, it's good. That's a very good thing, but we have to go with the 6,000.
That's only counting, that's only for social media. That's
Yeah, that
not for the other
doesn't-
areas that we have.
Right, the JMF that you're gonna hear about soon is 18,000 a year. And then there's another for the iPhones for the messaging that I think is another 8 or 10,000 a year.
Just need to stop communicating with her. Okay, well, it sounds like this is an issue bigger than just
It
Than
is,
us.
Yeah.
I mean, is this something you feel is an immediate need that you need addressed as far as?
I think, and I'll let Barb weigh in on that, but I think kind of the total package, the other holes that she's referencing, we're gonna have to address it all, whether now or later. At some point, we're gonna have to address it all to remove a liability.
I mean, nowadays, I mean, it's not like it used to be. Everything's now done on computers. Everything's posted on computers. And I mean, like it or not, we're liable. So I mean, can it cost us a lot of money up front? Yeah. So if we get sued, how much is it gonna cost? So
So my understanding of this, right? So let's use that tractor talked about as an example. Somebody posts and says, so-and-so has got this tractor. I've seen it in this place. You guys look at that post. The sheriff's department looks at that post and says, okay, let's go pay a visit over there. You did, you find, hey, that's it. So now you guys made an arrest or your citation was issued to that. Now the person was like, oh crap, I don't want my name that I put that, so he deletes that, like you said. So now you go to court. And now they're like saying, well, where's your proof at that you knew that he had this tractor? You say, well, I got it from Facebook, and then you can't find that on Facebook and show where you got it at, then could that case potentially be thrown out?
It could hurt the case, yeah.
I mean, if we go there and we observe the tractor, I mean, the case is still gonna stand because we're actually.
Well, yeah,
there
you see it.
person. We have every right to go to someone's property based off of any tip and just, say, hey, we're here about this complaint. We see something, that's grounds for doing an investigation. So I mean, not that the case will get thrown out, but if his attorney requests that post and it's not available as an open records request, then yes, we are liable for that information.
Or disclosure, would it be
So-
like the disclosure?
Yeah.
You have to,
My second thing is, I guess, if you ever come in that situation, then could it be appropriate where you like do is like some type of screenshot so we got it saved?
The problem is people can do that any time of the night. So who's gonna sit and watch
Yep.
Facebook all night to screenshot it?
I think if you like actually look at it and then you like take action on it, you're gonna take action like, hey, said John Smith has got this tractor at his house and was posted by this. Can you just like screenshot it? The way it's saved, and then
Even if there's no action taken, technically we're still liable for it.
Yeah, that's the thing is you never know what the person making the request is gonna look for. In that case, it's obvious. They want that post that pointed the finger at that person. But we could just get a blanket request for a day, a period of time, and we're not actually sure what they're looking for.
Carrie,
So-
if you want a good real world example, our drug task force a year and a half ago was involved in a case that we posted onto Facebook regarding marijuana seized in a raid and some money. We took a lot of bashing on Facebook about why do you guys care? This was just marijuana. And I smoke marijuana every day and it's not a bad thing. All these people are posting and it's still out there to the best of my knowledge. I'd have to go look. But on this post on the Sheriff's Department's Facebook page, they're openly admitting to doing an illegal act. Now, if our drug task force sees my name because I posted out there, hey, I smoke marijuana every day. It's not a big deal. Why are you worried about this? Are they going to look at that? But then I'm like, oh, that was a dumb idea. Why did I put that on the Sheriff's Department page? And I deleted. They no longer have that post. And there are a lot of people that do post things like that. That's a real example, and that post still exists.
all right. So I think this is something that needs to stay on the radar and we're gonna have to hash this out. What committee is this, finance? I mean, I guess since MIS reports to finance that this is a discussion that should get on the agenda sooner rather than later, but I guess Mr. Langrick may have, I'm assuming you've spoken with him, or is this on his radar? Okay, so I think this should be on his radar. So if MIS, you want to take the ball and bring this to his attention and then try to get it into the mix of agenda items for finance, I think that would be the next best step. Because it sounds like it's countywide and not just specific to, I mean, you guys have legal obligations that may be different, but we're all public, we're all a public entity and we can all get Open Records Act or S. So, okay. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Because they're really hitting us hard this month. And it continues with we did 17, so number 18, discussion regarding receiving no jail lock maintenance contract bids. That seems like a problem.
Yeah. It does.
I think we have to have a maintenance
Yeah.
someone to maintain our locks, right?
Yeah, so, and Amber reached out to Piper, who, told her, and haven't heard anything back from them, because I'm assuming we would a bid back from them.
And they're just not even taking your call? Yeah, re-advertise, please. So do you want a motion to that effect?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, motion by Cosgrove,
Second.
second by Severson. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, yes, please, try to get us a jail lock contract. All right, 19, radio tower project updates. Sheriff, are you taking this, or Barb?
Power project updates.
Clinton and I both received the Phase 2 contract from True North. Now that the county board did the resolution, I am waiting for him to sign them. I don't think that I have the authority. I think it's a Clinton thing. Hopefully he'll get those signed today, and then those will go back and we will start with the RFP. But we actually have the amended one, and it came back at 18.5, which is a decrease.
Oh, such a nice surprise. That's the second time they've come back with a decrease,
Yeah.
right?
Good news.
I did sense a little hesitation from the board when we were talking. We only briefly talked about that, and we didn't even really let Mike do a presentation, which I still think we need to do a formal presentation where he goes through the why we need this. And I think we should do it before we are sitting there that night wanting to approve an RFP. So,
He's willing to do it whenever. He thought he was gonna.
I
that
thought so
night,
too. I don't know how that happened where, yeah.
Then he didn't get offered the opportunity to, and he was okay with that, but just.
Yeah, because from what I've been, the mumblings I've been hearing, it's like, well, why can't we just go with the first option? So we need to be really clear why that wouldn't make sense. That would just be throwing money away. And really, we'd be in the same boat a few years down the road. So I do think we need to have, so we'll need to, I don't know when that makes sense. Maybe the month before we think the RFPs are coming back.
That would be December, January, coming back or going out.
Whatever, when are we going to ask the board? Are we thinking that's going to be May, June,
March?
So maybe
March or April.
So maybe we need to wait until we have the next sitting board and then have them come in and do a presentation, because then there's
that would actually
be a lot of new people. Yeah. Okay, so let's just make sure it doesn't fall off our radar that we want him to come and speak before we're actually going to be asking for the money. Like at least one meeting before we're going to be asking for the money.
Mhm.
Anyone else have any thoughts on that? All right. Do you guys have any? No, right? I mean,
yeah.
I do think it's important to probably make sure people understand why we need that third option. All right, that brings us to mapping radio system and squad updates. So looking at the mileage chart, is that where you want to start, or did you have something else?
We can start with mileage chart. And
what's the status of our new ones?
So both new cars are here. After the last county board meeting, I drove over to Philbacks and handed them a check for the second car. And
they're not on the road yet?
They're not on the road yet. No.
Okay.
So they're out in the parking lot, waiting on some last bits of equipment to come for them, and then they can go be built. Just the major hang up has been the dash camera systems have not come yet. Otherwise,
approved last month.
Well, they've been approved for a while, but the dash cameras, the wearables, are what you guys have just approved, yeah. And I believe they'll be here next week. I canceled an appointment to have the squads put together next week and postponed it for another week, hoping that everything would be here in time for that.
So which two squads are those replacing?
So those are replacing Squad 9 as a primary, which is the one that was totaled.
So that's the insurance car?
Yep. And then Squad 11 is going to be taken out of primary service and used as a backup patrol vehicle then. and we're gonna send 15 down the road. Squad 15 will
Sell 15 or give it
or
to someone.
repurpose, yeah.
And we have how many vehicles on order?
We
Two?
only have the two.
The
So
two that are already in
sorry,
the parking lot?
We don't have any currently on order. I went and tried to order the pickup and they closed down 2021, the 2021 ordering and they have not reopened for 2022 yet. So the pickup we had discussed hasn't been ordered.
So you have approval to purchase.
I have approval to purchase from Fund 92 two vehicles, and I've only purchased one from Fund 92. Yeah.
My husband just ordered a truck yesterday, so maybe they have opened up 2022?
It's a different.
Or is it a different kind of
It's a
truck?
different system because it's fleet pricing,
Oh.
government vehicles versus, yeah, and they're probably not gonna come out and say this, but they can sell vehicles to the public for more expensive than they can to government, and so
There's a high
they're-
demand right now.
they're directing their building to that right now.
Okay. All right. Anything else on that agenda item? Mapping radio system?
Not really, no.
Knock on wood, right? It's weird when we don't talk about something.
Barb may have known, I haven't been notified of any radio system issues in the last month. Barb, a lot of that stuff goes through Barb's office when it comes in, so Barb maybe knows if we had any, have you had any tickets or anything come across on the radio system in the last month? Okay. Yeah, knock on wood.
Okay, so we are to item number 21, future agenda items. Any committee members have future agenda items? We haven't already added today. Okay, so I have a couple things. One, I think it's time for us to review our animal control, so to have our investigator come and just talk about how things are going with our animal control contract, since she was just here and we renewed it. It probably would have been good to do today, but it wasn't on our agenda to really do it today. So I mean, I think we've been doing that like twice a year.
Okay.
And so I would like to have him come and just give us a quick update, make sure everything's good. And then when I was at the Wisconsin Counties Association conference, I attended one breakout session that had to do with sheriff funding and problems and issues, which it was echoing all of the things we always talk about. But there was a few things they talked about that I thought I could just bring up and give to you as ideas that of what other places have been trying, and maybe you probably already know some of this, but so I'll just add that to the agenda as just an informational kind of thing. So those were the two things that I had. And then, so we also want Partners for Prevention on the next agenda. And we want the ordinance on the next agenda. I think that's it. It's probably enough.
That's probably enough.
Probably, yeah. All right. Well, if there's nothing further, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn. All right, I have a motion. I have a second. Second by Cosgrove. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.